From the moment I booted up Buildings Have Feelings 2 and started the cute tutorial directed by Crumbling Decrepit Buildings, I knew I was about to find a treasure trove of fun. 2 hours later, I completely gave up searching. Hey guys, it's Cody with Indie Game Pulse. If you want to find the newest and best indie games and hear genuine reviews from an indie game fanatic like yourself, click subscribe and the notification bell to make sure you don't miss another video. I know I'm late to the party with this one, but a review key came in while I was out of town. I've avoided watching other reviews, so these opinions are purely based off of my own gameplay experience. I'll admit up front that I was pretty wrong about this game. I thought it would be a charming story of redeeming the remains of elderly, forgotten buildings with memorable stories and personalities, but this is very much a puzzle game hidden behind that facade, and not a good one at that. Let's start with the story because that's what I feel was the primary selling point of the game. In the trailer, you see these forgotten buildings bemoaning their status in the city and seeking to have new life pumped into them. While that does happen in the game, it seems to be more of a background or secondary emphasis to the puzzle mechanics, but some buildings do have more character than others. Literally, some of the buildings are actual characters that are used to progress the story, and others that you build personally to reach goals and objectives do not have a story to share. The buildings that do talk, though, felt like they were only sharing with you in order to get you to the next objective. The thought of talking with old buildings is a cool one to me, hearing their stories, sympathizing with them in their states of disrepair, but the story just felt hollow here to me, and like it was just a mechanic to introduce the next chapter of the game. Also, the audio cues when the buildings chat is just the sound of crumbling or crushed bricks, it seems, so I turned that down pretty quickly and tried to enjoy the music. We'll talk more about that in a bit. So let's get to the mechanics of the game, the actual minute-to-minute gameplay. Actually, you know what, time for a quick story break. After the initial short discussion and introduction to the game, you're placed into the tutorial, which I didn't realize you couldn't save during, or rather that there isn't an autosave during. This is one of the most boring and confusing tutorials I've ever had the pleasure of running into. So 20 minutes into the tutorial, I closed out the game and went to bed. Imagine my surprise, or displeasure rather, when I reloaded the game the next day and found 0 save files. So I had to click back through the tutorial, which took 9 more minutes. I'm not a game developer, but maybe someone can give me a good reason why auto, and it actually turns out manual saves too, would be disabled during this long tutorial. Anyway, back to the gameplay. You are given some objectives to meet in order to make certain buildings happy, sometimes by having enough people living close by in residence buildings or having a pub down at the corner. These secondary buildings must be within a certain distance of the main building that you're trying to meet the objective with, and this range is displayed by holding the Alt key on the keyboard. The Shift key can also bring up an overall view of each building's satisfaction, and you can click individually or hit spacebar on a building to see what it offers to other buildings, as well as how its needs are currently being met. The problem with Buildings Have Feelings 2 is that it's just filled with symbols and colors to interpret, and these get quite confusing over time. Trying to keep the building straight is probably my biggest annoyance as well. When you begin the game, there are 2 or 3 types of buildings that you can build, and then you can fill them with different businesses, but only specific to that building type. So when you install a new business, it changes the color of that building. Kind of. It only changes the appearance of the entrance, which is quite small and hard to see most of the time with the way the camera moves. I played on my PC sitting about 2 feet from a 31-inch monitor and could never tell which businesses were which without clicking on them. A simple fix for this would have been to change the color or look of the entire building, and probably would have helped to infuse some color and life into this game. It definitely would have made the buildings much easier to distinguish and helped to speed up the gameplay. You can move buildings around to accommodate others and meet your objectives, as well as building new buildings and businesses, and replacing businesses in each building. But what the game didn't tell me, until it was too late and I had already done it twice, is that each building can only change businesses twice. So at this point, I was already stuck with 2 buildings which I couldn't use for any purpose, and that I also couldn't demolish. I just had to move them to the outskirts of town to congregate together in uselessness, which feels quite contrary to the message of the game. One last thing I'll mention about the puzzle type mechanics of Buildings Have Feelings 2. There is a lot of building swapping that happens in the game, and it can be tough sometimes to find enough room to accommodate everything you need in one area. Most map areas have 2 to 4 chunks of buildable spaces, usually separated by a bridge or other obstruction, but to swap buildings, you have to walk your character to that building, select it, walk with it to the new area you want it to be in, drop it, grab the other building you want, then walk back and place that one. It's just terribly slow and arduous, like putting a puzzle together in the dining room, but the box of puzzle pieces is located upstairs, in your neighbor's house. As I mentioned earlier, I think the art could have been greatly improved by adding more distinguishable colors or representation to the different kinds of buildings and businesses, but overall I did enjoy the kind of smoggy, depressed look the game has going for it. It reminds me of the depressed downtown area in my hometown with the rundown buildings containing nothing but shattered windows. The music, on the other hand, was not my cup of tea. It's very repetitive and almost grinding on the nerves at times. This does change between the map areas, which is nice in that it introduces some variety. But far and away, the worst part of Buildings Have Feelings 2 is the downright awful user interface. I mentioned in the gameplay section that there are 3 different buttons used to bring up different views of the city and buildings on your screen. Then when you select an individual building, there are 4 different buttons used to interact with it, some presenting you with more button options once you've chosen from the first set. It all felt like a jumbled mess, and after 2 hours I still didn't have a good handle on which buttons did which actions, or even what some of the symbols meant without having to go to the pause menu. Heck, I ended up on the pause menu by mistake probably 50% of the time because I was just trying to exit out of my current screen. I hate to make a complaint without offering an alternative in my reviews, but this is just way too much going on. The system needs to be simplified down to be more user-friendly, especially as Buildings Have Feelings 2 isn't pitched as a deep, strategy-intensive game. There's also a decently extensive research tree to unlock. You can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes around research tree because the game never identifies how to unlock the next stage, besides using more unexplained symbols. So the question is, should you play Buildings Have Feelings 2? I wouldn't recommend it. This is one of the most challenging games I've played recently, and for all the wrong reasons. A poorly designed user interface, symbols out the wazoo with little to no explanation, and a really tiresome way of walking the buildings to and fro to meet your goals. But let me know in the comments what you think of Buildings Have Feelings 2, or if you've had a different experience with it. That's going to do it, guys. Thank you very much to my 660 subscribers for your support, and I look forward to getting to know more of you soon. For more top indie game countdowns and reviews, check out the videos on your screen now, and I'll see you on the other side.